This is the ultimate The Amazing World of Gumball family tree. And by ultimate, of course, I mean everyone here is connected. Darwin, Penny, Rob, Larry, Mr. Robinson, Miss Simeon, the shopkeeper of the Awesome Store, for a total of more than 170 characters, all connected in some way in this tree. I do hope you like charts. This is our key so you can follow along. The red lines connect to family members, the pink ones are for romantic relationships and love interests, the blue ones are for nemesis and frenemies, whereas yellow, green and orange are for the school personnel, the Rainbow Factory and Chanex respectively. Because what is a soulless, bloodthirsty corporation if not one big family for its employees? An abusive family, but a family nonetheless. We'll start with the Wattersons and we'll gradually move on to the rest of Elmore. Remember to hit the like button if you'd like some more Gumball videos, because this is my first one, and hit the subscribe-nator for more family trees and for Phineas and Ferb videos, because I do make an awful lot of those. With that said though, let's get started. We begin with Gumball Zach Christopher Watterson, the eldest child of Richard Buckley Watterson and Dr. Nicole Watterson. Doctor is the first name. When Gumball was 4, the family got him a pet fish, Darwin the First. However, the little guy met an untimely demise because of, hopefully, natural causes, so he was replaced by another fish, Darwin the Second. He also didn't really get to live long, so he died and was replaced by Darwin the Third, and then the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th. This kept going on for a while. They kept dying either because of Gumball, because of Nicole, Richard, and sometimes because of Banana Bob and even Leslie. Eventually, the store ran out of fishes to sell, so Richard decided to buy one from a shady guy in a mysterious van, the Awesome Store's shopkeeper. This fish, Darwin, Raglan, Caspian, Ahab, Poseidon, Nicodemus, Watterson III, eventually grew lungs and finally legs, officially becoming the adoptive son of Richard and Nicole in just a few days. Finally, years later, Nicole gave birth to a daughter, Anais, Watterson. And of course, is spelled with 6 R's. Richard's parents are Joanna, also known as Granny Jojo, and Frances Watterson, Frankie. Joanna's maiden name was Beresford, but not much is known about her parents, she never really talked about them. However, we did see a picture of her mom in 2 different episodes. It was very small and pretty far away, but you know, better than nothing. When Richard was little, Frankie abandoned him and his mom, so Joanna ended up raising her child by herself. However, many years later, she eventually met Louis Carter. They started dating and officially got married in the episode The Signature. Louis also has a sister, Sheila. However, before the two could get married, Richard really objected to this union, so with a dirty trick, he decided to adopt Louis. With Louis as his son, he could forbid him from seeing his mom. In retaliation, Louis decided to pull a trick on Nicole this time, adopting her as his daughter. This means that Louis is Richard's stepfather as well as his adoptive father-in-law. As for Frankie, we know that his mom was a cockatoo and that his father actually abandoned the two of them when he was little. This seems to run in the family. If we go up the Watterson family tree, we're eventually gonna find Richard's great-great-great-grandfather, Bucktooth Watterson. Bucktooth eventually started an endless generational rivalry between the Watterson and the Finkelheimer families because of a watch. His arch nemesis was one-legged Finkelheimer, and the families fought for that watch for hundreds of years. Eventually, Gumball ended up inheriting the watch, but he gave it to Darwin, who handed it to Marvin Finkelheimer. Before any one of them could actually sell it though, the watch got destroyed. On multiple occasions, Marvin showed a great romantic interest in the Hexagon Lady, one of the many characters named after, well, their physical description. The two even went on a date together. The Hexagon Lady herself, in the episode The Love, started dating another guy online, aka the internet itself. The internet also has a mom who can only communicate via glitched computer noises. She's a good woman though. Machine maybe. I don't know.
Mom! You let enemies into my secret base? You know very well I don't have any friends!
On Nicole's side of the family, things are way easier because we only know about her parents, Daniel and Mary. After years of constant fighting with her parents, Nicole walked out on them and eventually started a new life with Richard. She did invite them to her wedding and really wanted them to be there, but it turns out they actually misinterpreted the invitation, and instead of RSVPing, they actually went to Rosbup in Moldavia, where everyone kept trying to marry Mary, even a dog. Oh, and did I mention that they have a dog now? Yeah, I'd like to know what's going on between Mary and the dog, honestly. The Watterson family is officially complete, but we're just getting started. We gotta talk about the love interests. In Season 1's episode, The Party, Rachel actually forced all of Tobias's friends to actually bring a date if they wanted to come to her party. And because Gumball was completely out of options, he decided to bring Tina Rex, her parents being Mr. and Mrs. Rex. By the end of the night, Tina ended up ditching Gumball for Hector. Hector's parents are Mrs. Jotunheim, the witch, and Mr. Jotunheim, a guy so big that 3 mountain climbers actually got lost in his belly button. Hector said it as if it was something to be proud of. Hector's original date that night was actually Penny Fitzgerald. Penny's cousin is somehow Leslie, and her little sister is Polly. Polly and Penny's parents are Patrick and Judith, and their grandma is, well, she doesn't really have a name, but she does look exactly like her daughter. She has a hat and purse, which makes her a completely different person, clearly. The family also has an adorable little pet tarantula, Mr. Cuddles, who somehow cheated death, arguably more than once. When in the episode the robot, Bobbert, started stealing Gumball's life, he took away his family from him, as well as Penny. He pretended to be clueless, but he knew what he was doing. Bobbert's mom is Mother Unit, and his most recent love interest is this vacuum cleaner, to each their own. Finally, to close the loop, Penny and Gumball actually started dating as of the episode The Shell. Yet, Gumball's romantic life is just getting started. For instance, he did date Hot Dog Guy's mom. Yeah, he and Hot Dog Guy really wanted to take the cringe to the next level, but in doing so, he actually started dating his mom? Gumball's not there to replace his father, but he would really like it if Hot Dog Guy would actually call him Dad.
You are becoming a man, and I know you have questions, so let me give you the talk.
Yeah, let's move on. Gumball and Darwin's biggest fan is Sarah Gelato, and also she's madly in love with the both of them. And how can we forget about the time Darwin fell head over heels for Gumball's European girl persona? Gumball Oops Egg Wobble Underpants, from Gumball the No Wig Battle Axe Ninja. That's in Europe. However, the only thing stronger than a romantic relationship, it's the amazing chemistry that 2 nemesis have together. And of course, Gumball's primary nemesis is Rob. Rob was also briefly Banana Joe's nemesis, his parents being Banana Bob and Banana Barbara, the queen who just steals the show every time she's on screen, and Obadiah Banana is the ancestor who founded the family. Banana Joe's cousin is Kayvon, and his aunt is, well, Kayvon's mom. She doesn't really have a name. And before you ask, no, not all fruits are related. That's so narrow-minded of you guys. On Gumball's long list of nemesis is also Chi-Chi, with Ribbit as his brother and these as their parents. I only connected Chi-Chi and Gumball. I technically should have connected Darwin and Ribbit, Nicole and their mom, but you know, if I can avoid using a line or two, I'd rather avoid it. The final chart is gonna be confusing enough. Another nemesis, this time perhaps more on the frenemy side, is Ocho, with these as his parents, and with Mario and a blue hedgehog as his uncles. I do wonder who that hedgehog could be. Gumball was also kinda forced into a rivalry with Carlton and Troy, 2 students from Richwood High, and with their coach, Frank Reese. 2 more of Gumball's frenemies are Clayton and William, and of course, how can we forget about Gaylord Robinson? Again, Mr. Robinson technically hates both Gumball and Darwin, and I guess Richard as well. Not really sure about Nicole and Anais, but I'd say he hates pretty much the entire family. Still, I'm only connecting the kids.
No, hate isn't quite the right word. It's more like despise. Oh, no, maybe abhor. Yeah, I abhor you. No, you know what? I was right the first time. I hate you!
Gumball loves and respects Mr. Robinson, that saint, that national treasure he is. However, we all know the guy hates his guts. Still, deep inside his heart, he really does love hating both Darwin and Gumball. It's a very heartfelt sentiment. Gaylord's wife is Margaret, who also has a brother, or perhaps had? And we've even seen a picture of her maker. In Season 3's episode The Boss, when Mr. Robinson's life was on the line, Margaret, being the supportive wife she is, she instantly abandoned him and started dating another guy instead. However, when Mr. Robinson was feeling better, she just ditched her fiancé. Gaylord and Margaret have a son, Rocky, who once accidentally proposed to the alligator lady, Alison Sandra Gator, and also had a huge crush on this girl, Bridie, this being her dad. However, his love was really not reciprocated in any way, shape, or form. Lastly, on Gumball's nemesis list is Miss Simeon. Her parents are deceased, but she does go visit them at the museum whenever she has the chance. It's pretty weird, but also kinda wholesome, I like that. And of course, the love of her life is Principal Marron, or rather Principal Brown, also known as Nigel when he goes on slumber parties with his students. Not a very professional dude. Of course, working at Elmore Junior High, other than Principal Brown and Miss Simeon, is also Rocky, the bus driver and janitor, and Coach Russo, who's married to, well, Mr. Russo, and together they have a daughter, Jamie, who also forced Darwin into a relationship. Also working at the school are Mr. Small and Harry Gedges, also known as Gary Hedges, and then the old and the new librarian. The thing is, people seem to assume that this is the same character, just with an updated design, especially because after season 3, the old librarian doesn't appear in the school library anymore, and we only see the new one. However, the old one didn't really disappear from the show, she did appear in a few scenes in seasons 4 through 6. So yes, they're both old librarian tree ladies, but they're just different old librarian tree ladies. Finally, at Elmore Junior High, we have Moonchild Cornet, the geography teacher, and of course the nurse. The two of them also have a bit of a relationship going on between them. Because of her hypochondria, the nurse's worst enemy is Terry, whose parents never really appeared, except for when Gumball and Darwin turned them into origami. She also has an uncle, Brian, who was torn to shreds. I guess not the best birthday present. Unless she didn't like her uncle? And of course, Darwin was also forced into a relationship with Terry, this time of course because of Gumball meddling. While we're on the subject of Darwin's love life, his very first love interest was Rachel, also known as Rachel, aka Tobias' sister. Their parents are Jackie and Harold, who had a romantic relationship with Giselle when he thought he had become rich in the episode The Cycle. And also, in case you didn't know, in the Amazing Journal comic of Darwin, in issue 3 of the Gumball comics, Sassy is actually revealed to have a crush on Darwin. Good to know. Also, these are her parents. Darwin's most recent love interest, as well as his girlfriend, is Carrie Kruger, whose first boyfriend was Azrael, whose parents are these guys, and whose grandma is this hand. It seems she doesn't really eat much, although she does bite her nails sometimes. However, how can we forget about this spontaneous romance between Darwin and Masami? Yeah, as you might remember, Masami actually forced Darwin into a relationship as well. However, Masami was really just trying to prove that she was better than the other girls and actually had a boyfriend, when in reality, her true love interest is actually Alan. His parents are Dexter and
Jessica!
And his uncle is Phil. Alan's heart, however, actually belongs to Carmen, his girlfriend. Carmen's parents are Mrs. and Mr. Verde, and while Mrs. Verde never really spoke on the show, when Mr. Verde speaks, he actually just encourages people to do stuff naked. So it would be way better if he didn't really speak either. And just so we can go full circle once more, Gumball and Carmen actually had a fake relationship to make Alan jealous. And while we're on the subject of love, Anais actually briefly showed interest in Billy Parham, who instead actually has a huge crush on her. Billy's mom, of course, is Felicity, the biggest Karen in Elmore. Anais, alongside Darwin and Gumball, all asked for a pet, and Richard got them an evil turtle. The evil turtle, bought from the Awesome Store, actually had plenty of evil baby turtles. They all lived happily ever after though. Oh, and let's not forget that Gumball also gave life to Kenneth. However, I'd like you guys to appreciate how Gumball has so many nemesis, whereas Darwin's only real nemesis is probably that evil hat. Which is not just a hat.
That's just what he wants you to think.
Richard also has a nemesis in Mr. Gruber, while Nicole's nemesis up until the episode The Fury is Yuki Yoshida, Masami's mom. Yuki also clearly has a thing for Richard, and of course she's married to Mr. Yoshida, the owner of the Rainbow Factory. So let's tackle the big corporations. Of course, Nicole works at the Rainbow Factory alongside Karen, Larry Needlemeyer's fiancée, as well as the love interest of Tony. I didn't even remember he had a name, apparently he's named Tony. Then there's also George Cooper, Claire's father, and Claire also has a boyfriend, Jared. And then still at the factory, we also have a few more secondary characters, starting with the Blue Elephant, James O'Brien, Steve Dennis, the Rainbow Factory shareholders, a plant, the cowboy guy, as well as Hank and Steve, two other construction men. We also have Jeff Benson, whose wife is Susan, the blue-haired lady Lenny Smith, Leonard, that creep, the Cupcake Man, Phil, the soulless office worker, George, also known as Angela, one of Richard's friends, and even Paperball and the old librarian. The Rainbow Factory might not be perfect, but it's definitely better than Chenix Incorporated. They're officially the worst corporation on Earth. They pollute, they cut down the rainforest, their boss even invented boy bands. It's evil in its purest form. Although I admit I did like Big Time Rush, but it's because they had their own show. It's different. The boss of the corporation, of course, was Mr. Chenix, up until his defeats where the Office Goblin took his place. Working at Chenix, to put it simply, are also all of these guys that I put here. They both work for the Rainbow Factory and Chenix. They really don't have a life, do they? But a few familiar faces also work at Chenix. Tony, Karen, and Larry, even though Larry doesn't directly work for them, but he works in a lot of different shops and stores that are actually owned by Chenix, so he ultimately just does work for them. Then there's also Mr. Verde, Felicity, and the Hexagon Lady all working for Chenix. Then Richard, well, he wasn't actually hired, but he did act as if he owned the place, so it's as if he actually worked there at the end of the day. And then Banana Barbara, who was an intern for Paperball. We also have, on the other side of the chart, Siciliana Pepperoni, married to Quattro Pepperoni, who both hate the government, and their children are Peter, this baby pepperoni, and also this pizza that Gumball and Darwin delivered. To me, that always felt like an adoption, don't you think? Then alongside her are Hayden City, Charlie, Butterknife, Fake Muriel, Spray Paint Bottle, Martha Miller, the Dolphin Man, and would you look at that, the old librarian once more. I mean, of course, she's not a librarian at the school anymore. She's working at both Chenix and the Rainbow Factory. She doesn't really need a third job, right? I mean, Larry kinda does, but whatever. Actually, talking about Larry, I'd like to make one last connection and add one final line for the cops. Because after all, Larry was a police force accountant, working for Chicken Bucket, the chief of police, and of course, alongside them, there's all of the cops. The hamburger cop, leaving no stone unturned, the french fries, the female and the male coffee cops, Earl, who's probably Hot Dog Guy's dad. I mean, no, not all hot dogs know each other, sorry. Then there's a soda cop, and clearly the donut cop, whose nemesis is Sal Left Thumb. And also in the police department are Martha Miller and Hidden City. And now last, but definitely not least, in the episode The Ad, Richard actually bought a horse. How can we forget about Wunderklop? And with this, we can wrap up the family tree. Except there's a few characters I didn't really know how to connect. There's Molly. She doesn't really have any love interests or anything. Her parents never appeared or did anything. It's as if she never existed. I mean, she did not exist at one point, then she came back into existence. Never mind, she's not connected to anyone. Then there's Idaho, who never really had any romantic relationships, and he doesn't really have that much personality to be anyone's nemesis. And even though we know about his parents and even his uncle, they're just so disconnected from the rest of society anyway, so I wouldn't really know what to do with them. And then Anton is a bit of a weird one because technically Gumball and Darwin did create some Anton clones with Ant 1 and 2 and so on and so forth and what have you, but could we actually say that they're siblings? Because technically they're not. The people who created them are different, and even the toaster that was used was different, so it doesn't really feel right to connect him to the other Anton clones. And I mean, if I'm not connecting Anton, I'm not gonna add all of his clones to the tree. However, if you guys have a few ideas on how to connect these guys to the rest of the tree, let me know in the comments. Possibly, you know, without adding a friendship line or something incredibly specific just for them. With that said though, the tree is complete. Let me know if you'd like me to redo this tree after Season 7 comes out, and while you're at it, which characters you'd like me to add to it. With that said, I thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Ciao!